Hey, you can't come in here yet.
Excuse me?
You need to go buy these first.
Saying that, my mother-in-law, Laura, gave me a piece of paper with a list. Is she asking me to actually get all the things in this list?
You better hurry up, okay?
My name is Alice. I'm a 32-year-old housewife. I got recently married to my husband. I met him on a blind date, but he was very aggressive towards me, and we started dating right away. We got married soon after that. I was surprised at the fact that we married within 6 months of dating. But considering our ages, I thought better to make the decision to marry quickly. One of the reasons people were so surprised at my decision to marry Tim was because he had dated a lot of women before me. My ex-girl and I had been dating since freshman year of college, and we'd been together for about 12 years. We lived together for a long time around us. We're always teasing both about when we would get married. I assumed that I would probably end up marrying Kurt too. But out of the blue, Kurt suddenly asked me,
I know this is very selfish of me to break up with you.
What? Why are you saying this so suddenly?
I'm sorry, but I can't imagine a future with you anymore, Alice.
12 years of dating? That's incredible.
I'm so sorry, but we can't go out anymore.
no matter what I said to Kurt, he insisted that he wanted to break up with no good reason. The first few months after the breakup were really tough for me, as I felt like I had wasted my precious 20s because of him. I drank so much that my friends were around me, and to top it all off, being drunk, I started picking up anything I could find, and seeing this, they decided to take away my keys. My friends rushed to stop me and took a taxi back home. Seeing me like that, my friend asked if I continued like that, it would idea. So she set me up with a blind where I met my current husband, Tim. My husband is a man known to be highly educated, having graduated from a prestigious university. He was working for a major corporation before we met and has since started his own successful business. He is 2 years older than me, and he told me that it was time for him to settle down so he could find a wife. He was looking for his perfect match, and he aggressively approached me for him easily. Looking back now, I regret that I didn't make a more logical decision instead of making a superficial one. But my husband had a great family and personal background, so I guess I had no choice but to be deceived by him. Besides, to someone who was dumped going out for 12 years, a partner one for a marriage was just perfect for me. All of these reasons, and with that, I decided to marry my husband. When I married Tim, he asked me to fully focus on being a housewife. I liked my job that I was working at so much that I wanted to continue my husband's will. So that's why I became a full-time writer. From then on, I supported my husband my best at all the house chores. So think our marriage was going its own way. But at the same time, there were times when I felt really bored with it too. Not working meant that I had so much on my hands as a housewife. If I thought like that then, probably more the type where I like to be busy away from home. But since I got married and became a full-time housewife, I thought I should properly do my part for my husband. And so the days passed by in the blue. And a year had passed since we married. Since then, nothing had changed, so we continued to go about our daily usual. In my husband's family, he is the youngest son. He has 2 elder sisters, Rachel and Sarah, who are very friendly with me. And they would often come over to our house for dinner or a game night. But my husband would always make a face when Rachel and Julia came to visit us. Rachel and Julia were kind, but they were also very caring and reliable. And my husband did something that made them angry at him. So maybe because of that, my husband a little nervous when Rachel and Julia around. But I had never seen Rachel or Julia angry at Tim like that. So when he brought that up, I didn't take him seriously about it. Then, as another year was about to end, I received a phone call from my mother, Laura, suddenly.
Hello, Laura. You called me so did something happen?
You and Tim should come visit me this year.
Pardon me?
You didn't come last year, right? So that's why you should come this.
Saying just that, Laura hung up the
Who was it from?
It was from your mother. She wants us to visit her for the New Year's.
Well, it's true. We didn't get to know each other very well. It's been a while since we went, so we should go then.
I thought that I would be drinking, watching the TV, and taking it easy New Year's holidays. I had no idea that I would be going to Laura's house. And to have her contact us on Chris with only a week or so to go until Year's Eve. Originally, we had not visited my parents-in-law that much. And that's because my husband doesn't visit them frequently. Last year, I asked him if we didn't go during Christmas and New Year's, but he refused, saying things like, okay, my family doesn't really expect me to be there. Well, I think it was probably because he had more chances to see us visiting at that time. So that's why we would visit them every month or so on a day when there was going on. I was a little depressed about visiting in-laws for the New Year's. It's because I had a feeling that La not like me very much. When I visited Laura's house, she talked only to Tim and treated me was not there. My father-in-law, Jim, would always tell me that I wasn't unwelcome. But it was unusual for Laura not to look at me once. When I talked to my husband about it, he just said, it's probably just your imagination. You're too self-conscious. The conversation ended there. So I can't really rely on my husband regarding Laura. So what should I do this coming Eve? But since Jim will be there and Rachel Julia will probably be there, so I won't have to feel too horrible. So I decided not to worry too much, and the New Year's Eve came in no time. My husband and I finished cleaning house in the morning, had lunch, and Jim and Laura's house. My in-laws' house is 2 hours away from ours. So we arrived there around 2 p.m. When I got out of the car, I noticed that Jim's car wasn't there. Worried about his absence, I asked where he had gone. And he told me was probably picking up Rachel, and I was relieved to hear that. So my friend and I went to the front door and rang the bell.
Yes, I'll open the door soon.
Laura called out, and few minutes la front door opened.
Oh, hello. Thank you for coming here all the way. Welcome back.
It's nice to see you too.
Laura glanced at me, smiled only at said, come in, there's tea. Let's eat. She did it again. This is how she would ignore me. Feeling a little uncomfortable, I inside the house. But then Laura stood in front of me.
Hey, you can't come in here yet? You need to go buy these first.
There were many ingredients listed on the menu, including beef, lettuce, tomato mushrooms, beer, and so on. Is she asking me to actually get all things in this list?
You better hurry up, okay?
Where is the supermarket around here?
When I asked her that, Laura looked.
It's your fault that you rarely show up, isn't it? If you came here often, you would know where the supermarket is, wouldn't you? Check where the supermarkets are by.
Okay, then what about the food expenses? Shall I just pay for it and ask you back after?
When I said that, Laura's eyes widened and she became angry.
You rarely come visit my house, but me to pay for it? I can't believe you.
Laura began to shout, so Tim came what was going on.
What is wrong, Mom?
Oh, Timmy, Alice just tried to make me pay for groceries.
Hey, don't annoy Mum like that. You should just pay for that stuff.
What? But then I'll pay it out from our family budget. Is that okay with you?
Pay it from your credit card. 111. Don't pay it from our family budget.
No way.
Just hurry up and go. We're about to have our tea time, so ruin it.
Saying that, Laura slammed the front door loudly. How unbelievable. I was so angry at Laura's attitude as the mama's boy husband and his act. I was so mad that I crumpled up the paper and threw it right in front of and got in the car to go home. On the way home, I stopped at a supermarket and bought some amazing appetizers and beer. I arrived home at 5:00 p.m., so I decided to relax and drink a cold beer while eating the appetizers that I had made myself. About 6:00 p.m., my friends arrived and we sat down for dinner. I was enjoying my own time, watching TV while getting a little tipsy. Suddenly, I looked over at my phone that was on silent to see if my husband had called. But there was no phone call or even a text message from my husband, even though I had come home without shopping. For some reason, that made me angry. I was getting irritated, so I decided to distract myself by eating a delicious steak. As I was eating my steak, the doorbell suddenly rang. And as I was thinking, who could it be? I saw my friend Tim standing there. To my surprise, Rachel began to apologize, saying, "I'm sorry for my stupid brother." Both Laura and Tim's eyes were bright. This was not because they were drinking anything, but because they were really Rachel, Julia, and Jim, and they were crying. Being forced by Rachel and Julia, Laura began to apologize. Well, they sounded like they had to because they were forced to. After, I took Tim into the house and the in-laws left. As soon as my husband saw that his and his father were gone, he immediately became angry, saying, "Why didn't you tell me?" He continued to complain about it, ignored him. And a few days later, I met my high school friends for the first time in a white lunch with them. But on the way home, I saw my husband having an affair with another woman. He was walking arm in arm with a young woman. I quickly took a photo of the two, one from the shadows, and sent it to my over text message, asking him what all about. Then he read the message, but he didn't reply and ignored the text message. As I waited for my husband to return, angry at him for not replying, brought back his lover and Laura with him. Laura and his lover came in without my permission. Then Laura began to say, "This woman is more suitable for my son than you." She even said because your son ended up having an affair, there will be no alimony. Tim also took advantage of the situation and said, "It's your fault. It's not my problem." His lover was grinning with a victor on her face. Then my husband brought out the signed divorce papers. I needed some time to think about it, and then I said yes. My husband thought that I was panicking. He grinned and said, "Come back soon. I'll be waiting for you." I went into a cafe and immediately started talking to Rachel and Julia about it. They both came right away, and I played back what time. And Laura had said to me, having recorded it secretly, "Both Rachel and Julia was so angry to me. Please send that recording, Father, as well." And after sending it, the three of went back to the house where Tim's lover was. My husband and Laura were so surprised when they saw Rachel, and Julia had also arrived, that they both fell off their chairs.
That's enough. Yeah, we're always angry at you, but how you to understand that what you're wrong here.
And soon after, Rachel and Julia also went to Laura's.
This is what happens when you spoil Mom.
I mean, what is wrong with you? What kind of nerve do you have to interfere in your own son's affairs?
Then, both Rachel and Laura put their hands on Tim's shoulders and glared at him. Tim's lover got so scared that she started to cry and shake. She said, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Rachel and Julia then made her husband promise by saying, "You will get a Tim, but you must pay the alimony." Well, there was no way not to pay up when Tim even admitted that he had an affair on his own. Then, as I was signing the divorce, Laura's phone rang. Apparently, she received a text, "Mies. Jim."
Oh my God, what shall I do? Jim is saying that he's going to do it.
Laura was panicking, clinging to her husband with tears in her eyes. But Tim had to pay alimony to me, Rachel, and Julia. So he couldn't worry about his own mother right now.
Well, don't ask me about it. I don't even have the capacity to understand.
That was what he was saying to Laura. After that, we successfully got Dive. By the way, Tim's lover disappeared after paying alimony because she was scared of Rachel and Julia. And it seems that Jim has also divorced, so now she has forced herself into Tim's place so that she can live there. They are now living together, and T is paying off the alimony and child support expenses for both Laura and him. But the affair was discovered by SS Work somehow, and word spread through the company, and he was given a pay cut. Apparently, he is living poorly. It's what both Tim and Laura deserves. Meanwhile, Rachel had asked me if I wanted to join her company as someone had quit. So I went in for a job interview. They hired me as a full-time employee, and I'm now working hard with Rachel. And both Rachel and Julia took me to after work to celebrate for getting and divorcing Tim.
You know, this is our go-to place. They've had a new bartender for about a year now, and he's really nice and helpful.
Wow, really? Is he a young man?
No, I think he's about your age, Alice. He's in his early 30s, I think.
While having this conversation with arrived at the bar, I followed Rachel and Julia and sat counter.
Welcome.
The bartender said that, so I looked, was
Kurt.
Alice.
To my surprise, there he was, my ex-boyfriend, who had dumped me after 12 dates. So I said, "Excuse me, could you please head over to Rachel and Julia?" And I was about to leave. Then Kurt said, "Wait," and stopped.
Can you give me a minute? There's something I need to tell you.
With that, we went outside to talk.
I'm really sorry about what happened between us.
It's okay now. I was pretty shocked that you shouted at me. But it's all in the past now. I mean, you're a bartender now, right? Did you quit your job?
No, I'm still working at the company.
Oh, so you're doing this as a side.
I was just trying to explain about. Actually, my father got very sick 2 years ago and he can no longer work at his factory.
What is the best way to get rid of a cold sore?
Without him, the factory wouldn't run, and the medical expenses for his illness were pretty expensive, and at that time the situation was awful back at home. As a result, we had no choice but to father's factory. We were left with a debt of several dollars. Plus, my father's medical expenses expensive, so I couldn't really ask you to marry me being in that situation, because it would be so embarrassing to have a husband covered in debt as we get married, right? I didn't want to make you unhappy, why I just dumped you back then, but I'm really sorry for making you horrible. I thought that I would never see you, so now that I've miraculously met, felt I had no choice but to tell you.
You idiot. Then you should have talked to me, F it. You just left me without giving me any reason? So do you know how hard it is for me to accept that?
I'm sorry.
Well, it can't be helped now, but are you still in debt?
It's a huge relief, and my father's discharged for now.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that.
Alice, I won't say that I want to start out with you right now, so will you just be my friend again?
Yeah, Sure.
We walked back into the bar together, seeing that Rachel and Julia both for me happily. In the end, Rachel, Julia, and I made us a round of drinks. Saying that fault that I married to Tim, which in divorce as a joke. After that, I started seeing Kurt again, and as time went on, we gradually got back together. Then Kurt proposed to me, and we finally got married. All my friends and family around me congratulated me. Even Rachel and Julia told me 100 times over that it was much better suited to our time. After that, we had a baby, and now we're living happily together with our son, Kurt Theo. I would like to continue making memories with my husband and son. We have made so many already.
Both Rachel and Julia are very cool. I would love to meet sisters like them. I'm glad Alice was able to cut off and Laura, and the fateful reunion with Kurt was very touching. Please continue to live happily with the family, Alice.
Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in our next video.